We're excited to have you as we prepare for Early Childhood Advocacy Day and learn how to show up, be informed, confident, and ready to advocate for children and families across Illinois. Before we continue, I'd like to introduce Rosa Guzman Snyder, who will guide us through how to access Spanish interpretation for today's session.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. Muy buenas tardes a todos. My name is Rosa Guzman Snyder, and I'm here with the CLC. I'll be repeating this message in Spanish here shortly. Today, we are practicing language justice. What that means is that we want everyone to communicate and express and listen in the language of their heart. For this, we'll be using the simultaneous interpretation tool. And in just a few minutes, once we enable the interpretation tool, you'll see a little globe icon on the bottom of your screen that says interpretation. If you don't see it there, you'll see it in the three dots that say more. You won't see it just yet. We'll turn it on in just a minute. Once you are in there, you can select the language that you want to listen in, whether that be English or Spanish. Um, and then you should be good to go. I ask you to be mindful of your speed and only one person to speak at a time to make sure that I am capturing the best interpretation as possible. Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rosa Guzmán Snyder, estoy aquí con la CLC, estoy aquí para proporcionar y proveer un espacio donde practicamos la justicia del lenguaje, lo que significa que queremos que todos se comuniquen, hablen, escuchen en el idioma de su corazón. Para hacer esto vamos a estar usando la función de interpretación simultánea en Zoom. En unos minutos va a haber un globo terráqueo abajito de su pantalla. Si no lo ve ahorita, está bien, todavía no lo prendemos. Eh, si no lo ve también ahí puede ver en los tres puntitos donde dice more o más y ahí puede seleccionar interpretación y elija su idioma, ya sea inglés o español. Si tiene cualquier pregunta, me puede mandar un chat, y trataremos de arreglarlo. Si no me escucha o cualquier cosa, les pido que sean conscientes de su velocidad y que solamente una persona hable a la vez. Um, I think I think we're ready to get started. If we can go ahead and turn on interpretation.
Interpretation has just been turned on.
Thank you so much, Rosa. Now, before we get started, we love to introduce ourselves and share why this work is important to us. My name is Brian Herrera, the Community Engagement Manager at the Latino Policy Forum. I work with parents across Illinois, providing workshops from birth to college to help families feel supported with their children's growth and success. This work is personal for me. As a parent, my son was placed on a daycare waiting list due to shortage of educators. That experience showed me how important access to quality, affordable, early childhood programs really is. That's why the work we're doing really matters. I'll pass it over to my co-presenters to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Brian. Hi, everybody. My name is Naoma Nagahawatha. I'm the Assistant Advocacy Director at Illinois Action for Children, and I coordinate the We the Village Coalition. I'm also a Chicago public school parent with lived experience navigating access to safe, quality early childhood education and affordable childcare here in Illinois. Before this, I worked for over a decade on gender, race, and human rights issues in the US, Ethiopia, and Darfur through a progressive policy advocacy lens. I'm now going to pass it over to my colleague, Angelica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica Cleveland. I'm a Senior Program Manager at Start Early, where I support our Illinois policy and Raising Illinois teams. I convene the Early Childhood Advocacy Day Planning Group and help project manage the event. I'm excited to be here with you all today, and I cannot wait to see you on May 13th. Passing back to Brian.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being amazing. But now I want to put the spotlight on the audience. I love to hear from you all and get to know who's in this space with us today. If you don't mind typing in the chat to take a moment to drop your responses. What is your name? Have you participated in Early Childhood Advocacy Day before? And in one word or short phrase, what does advocacy mean to you? We're excited to see your responses and learn from the experiences you all bring into this space. So take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat, please. We'd love to know who's here. Mati has this is her third Early Childhood Advocacy Day, so that's amazing. We have a veteran. Advocacy means being present, speaking up. I love that, turning hope into action. Thank you, Emily. And then we're gonna do one more minute. Please continue to type in the chat. This is all very important responses. Thank you all for sharing. Being a voice for children. I love that. We'll continue to type in the chat. And please, if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to type it in the chat. We'd love to get to them. We're going to continue with the presentation here. And again, welcome everyone. We're here to provide an advocacy overview that we hope will help you. Actually, I'm speaking a lot. I want to let Neoma take over here. Neoma, if you don't mind, I'm talking too much. I want to make room for you.
You're not talking too much, but I'll happy to take over from here. So welcome everybody. It's good to see you. I want to tell you a little bit about why we're here and what to expect today. We're here to provide an advocacy overview that we hope will help you to understand what advocacy is, why it matters, learn how decisions about early childhood programs are made, explore current early childhood funding proposals that impact your community, build confidence to use your voice and to take action, and, of course, to prepare for ECAD on May 13th in Springfield, Illinois. We want you to leave this session knowing that when parents and providers speak up, systems start to listen, and that's where change begins. So let's pop over to the next slide. Thank you so much. And let's talk a little bit about advocacy. So what is advocacy? Advocacy is supporting, defending, or arguing for a cause or an idea in public to influence opinion, policy, and resource allocation. Advocates work to bring about change by raising awareness, organizing campaigns, and engaging with policymakers and the public. Advocacy for early childhood education and care involves actively supporting and promoting the rights and needs of young children and their families. The components of advocacy include education, which is understanding the problem and being able to communicate the nature of the problem to others, leadership, which means people who are willing to take action and speak up about an issue. This includes building relationships and strong community voices by organizing communities to speak together. And action and engagement, which includes developing a strategy with short, medium, and long-term goals and implementing action to affect change. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about types of advocacy. Types of advocacy include self-advocacy, which is speaking up for yourself, expressing your needs, interests, and rights effectively. Individual advocacy, which is empowering others to assert their autonomy, personal voice, and rights. Systemic advocacy, which is creating change for everyone, fixing the whole system so that it works better for everyone. This includes change through law, policy, and practice. Also, public awareness advocacy, which is spreading the word for change and sharing information and actions through events, campaigns, and media efforts. Legislative advocacy, which is making laws work for people, including influencing the creation and amendment of laws and policies. This requires working with lawmakers and policymakers and others with influence. So let's pop over to the next slide. Thanks so much. And let's talk a little bit about public policy. Advocacy helps to raise awareness, but in turn, we make that awareness into change by using public policy. Public policy is defined as any legislation, regulation, rule, program, or practice and its interpretation, created or implemented by the public or private sectors to improve the quality of life for an individual, a group, or society. I'd like to share a quick video on the ways public policy connects to early childhood.
When you talk about developing public policies, I think the first thing we need to do is listen to what families need. And what families will tell you is, I need more time in my child's life, so I need the kind of employer that's flexible, and we need the kind of public policies that encourages that flexibility, that I want access to quality childcare and quality preschools for my child, just like all children. And so if we listen to families and respond to those needs, then I think we're going in the right direction with public policy.
Well, I think that science has a real role to play in getting this information into the hands of both parents, but also legislators and policymakers. Because once you understand what's happening to brains in that early period, you get this sense of responsibility. For parents, it's understanding that, my goodness, I'm building that brain. It's me. And legislators and policymakers have to understand that society needs help in allowing everyone access to the information that's building brains.
In the United States, we've conducted these studies that show what is the benefit of $1 of investment in the early years of a child. What we found when you only consider these more limited objectives like earnings and employment and things like crime, that we find that each dollar invested pays back over the lifetime about $7, which is a very high return, much higher than the stock market in the United States, much higher than many, many other returns that we actually might find.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say thank you so much for that overview. Now that we have a better understanding of what advocacy and policy are, let's talk about why this work matters, especially when it comes to early childhood. Let's go to the next slide. To understand why early childhood matters, it's important to look at what's happening here in Illinois. There are over 858,000 children under the age of 5 in our state. This is a critical stage of development that shapes their future. At the same time, about 17% of children under 5 in Illinois are living below the poverty level. That means that many families are facing barriers when it comes to accessing quality childcare and early learning opportunities. Here in our region, in Cook and surrounding Collier counties, some of these have the highest number of low-income children in the state. What this tells us is that there is a real need, and it's close to home. That's why early childhood programs and funding are so important. Let's move on to the next slide. Now that we've seen the need here in Illinois, let's talk about why investing in early childhood education is so important. And I've seen it in the chat why this work matters. It has a big impact on our families and our communities. Let's talk about fostering healthy development. Number one is early childhood programs support children's brain development during the most critical years, helping build social, emotional, and cognitive skills. The next reason is generates a 13% return on investment. Research shows that for every dollar invested in early childhood education, there can be up to 13% return through better outcomes in education, health, and future earnings. The third one is closes the achievement gap. So early access to quality programs help level the playing field, especially for children from underserved communities. And then lastly, eases the transition and prepares children for school. Children enter kindergarten more prepared academically, socially, and emotionally, setting them up for long-term success. Let's move on to the next slide, and I'm going to pass it over to Neoma to talk about how we can make an impact.
Thanks, Brian. So let's talk a little bit about state advocacy. Um, Specifically, let's talk a little bit about the importance, now that we've learned about the importance of early childhood, how do we fund early childhood education and care in the state? So let's go to, okay, I'm on the right slide, sorry. Let's talk, so when we're looking at what's happening in the Illinois state budget, it's a little confusing, right? There are questions about, why some early childhood programs receive full funding or close to full funding, why some don't. So let's talk a little bit about why that is. While some early childhood programs in Illinois receive federal funding, we mostly support early childhood through our state budget. How does the state budget work? We need to pass a balanced budget every year. In order to pass a balanced budget, legislators must prioritize a number of objectives. Sometimes this requires cuts in programs or maintaining current levels of funding. Early childhood advocates want to ensure that early childhood remains a priority. That's why your voice is so important. By reaching out to your elected representatives, you help them to understand what kind of funding is needed for which programs. Let's go to the next slide. The state budget process follows a few key steps. The governor begins the budget process by presenting a budget address in mid-February. This year, the address happened on February 18th. This address outlines the governor's proposed spending plan for the upcoming fiscal year, detailing funding allocations for state departments and programs. Following the governor's address, the Illinois House of Representatives and the state Senate begin estimating the financial needs and revenues for the state. This involves a detailed review and adjustment of the governor's proposed budget figures. This is based on current economic conditions and revenue forecasts. Both the House and the Senate conduct a series of committee hearings. These hearings allow legislators and the public to provide input on the proposed budget. Testimonies from government agencies, advocacy groups, and citizens help to shape the final legislative response to the governor's proposal. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of internal decision-making, discussion, questions, hearings within both chambers of the legislature. During this phase, the Appropriations Committee, which handles a lot of the budget, and other committees that are relevant to early childhood education and care, discuss and revise the budget proposal to address concerns and priorities that come up during hearings. In May, the House or the Senate introduce their budget bill in response to the governor's proposed budget and budget negotiations. The bill might contain modifications to the governor's initial proposal, reflecting the legislature's priorities and input from hearings. Once the budget bills are introduced, additional hearings may be held to further tweak proposals and provide another opportunity for public input. By late May, each chamber votes on its respective budget bill. If the House and the Senate pass different versions of the budget, a conference committee might be needed to reconcile the differences between the bills. Once reconciled and passed by both chambers, the final bill must then be sent to the governor before the end of May to align with the state's fiscal year, which starts July 1st. The governor can either sign the bill into law, making it the state budget for the new fiscal year, or veto it fully or in part. In the event of a veto, the legislature can try to override the veto with 3/5 of a majority in both chambers. So let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about what the governor proposed for this coming fiscal year. So, as I mentioned, on February 18th, Governor Pritzker released his budget proposal for fiscal year 2027, which, as I mentioned, begins on July 1st, 2026 of this year. His proposal called for a $55 million increase for childcare and level funding, which means no increase, to Smart Start Workforce Grant funding. Also, a $15 million increase for early intervention, level funding for home visiting, level funding for the Early Childhood Block Grant, and level funding for the Early Childhood Access Consortium for Equity, or the ECA scholarship. So let's go to the next slide. While the governor avoided early childhood program cuts, his proposed levels of funding do not meet current needs in the field, as many of you know. Illinois' early childhood advocates are asking for the following. They're asking for a $130 million increase for childcare. This includes $80 million for the Child Care Assistance Program, or CCAP, and $50 million for the Smart Start Workforce Grant. Additional funding will maintain current caseloads and provide rate increases for both home-based and center-based programs. Advocates are also requesting a $40 million increase for early intervention. This investment would allow the Illinois Department of Early Childhood to increase pay for EI, early intervention providers, to retain existing therapists and attract new therapists to the program, and improve referral, intake, and evaluation processes, and ensure services are available in a timely way. We're also asking for a $5 million increase to home visiting, which could increase provider compensation to the state recommended levels and expand services for family. And advocates are also asking for increased investment for the Early Childhood Block Grant, which would strengthen the program quality by supporting programs to shift to more full-day pre-K or preschool slots and improve the cost per child rate for current programs to work towards reflecting the true cost of care. Lastly, advocates are calling for a $5 million increase for ECAs, or the Early Childhood Access Consortium for Equity Scholarship. We're hoping this investment will increase the number of qualified early childhood educators by promoting advanced credentials and degrees, thereby expanding classroom capacity. I'm now going to pass it over to Brian to review the ways in which advocates request increased funding.
Thank you so much, Neoma, for that overview as well. So, who are the advocacy targets? The governor, state representatives, and state senators play a key role in passing laws and approving budgets. So, it's critical they hear directly from families, parents, and providers about why this work matters in their communities. But advocacy doesn't just stop there. Building relationships with community organizations, early childhood experts, providers, and even the media can help amplify our voices, bring awareness to issues, and also build momentum for change. Let's go to the next slide, please. So how can we advocate? If we're meeting with our legislators or trying to bring awareness, what are some strategies, right? And there are many ways to advocate, and all of them matter. There can be letter writing, which is reaching out to legislators by email or letters or sharing your story and concerns. There's also public and legislative education, which is helping others understand the importance of early childhood issues. There's legislative outreach, meeting with your legislators, attending advocacy days like we're doing now in May 13th, and then building relationships as well. Communications and media, using social media, sharing stories, and bringing awareness publicly in your community as well can be a great way. And then let's move on to the next slide. So do we know who our elected officials are? We talked about different ways to advocate, and one of the most important steps is knowing who represents you. So if you don't know, it's important that we get informed. These are individuals who are making decisions that impact our children, our families, and communities. And here on the screen, you'll see a QR code that you can scan to look up your representative. And if possible, are we able to share the link in the chat for those who are mobile? Perfect. So here you'll have access to look up your representative. Just take a moment to scan it or click the link to see who represents you in your community. And then I'll pass it over. If we can go to the next slide, and I'll pass it over to Naomi.
Okay, everybody. So, how do we talk to our elected officials? What do we say during ECAD? What do we say when we get to meet with them, either in office or otherwise? How do we do this? Well, for ECAD purposes, You're going to be in Springfield, and you are going to have the opportunity to speak probably quickly to your elected official. You can either catch them at outside of hearings. We actually recommend that you make meetings in advance with your elected officials so you get some time to meet with them. But how do you talk with them about the issue? We recommend that you do the elevator pitch. So, what is an elevator pitch? Overall, an elevator pitch is a tool used in advocacy to make quick, impactful arguments about why a legislator should support or prioritize early childhood education or care. An elevator pitch is brief, it's persuasive. You use it to spark interest in a specific issue, in this case, early childhood education and care funding. And typically it lasts about 20 to 30 seconds. This is the length of an elevator ride approximately. That's why it's called an elevator pitch. This pitch is designed to provide concise and compelling introduction to an issue, delivering enough information to engage the listener and invite further conversation. When addressing legislators, an elevator pitch serves several specific purposes. It creates awareness. An elevator pitch quickly informs a legislator about key issues or needs within the early childhood sector. It highlights critical information that may require attention or action. It also creates opportunities for engagement. An elevator pitch aims to engage the listener's curiosity or concern for a topic, prompting them to want to learn more and get involved. It also facilitates action. An elevator pitch encourages a specific action, whether it's support for legislation, funding, or policy changes that will benefit children in our state. Also, it supports relationship building. An elevator pitch helps establish a connection or start a relationship with a legislator, serving as a stepping stone to further dialogue and collaboration on early childhood issues. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about crafting an elevator pitch. How do you do this? You start with your name and who you are. You identify your goal. You communicate why you're passionate about that goal. You identify the barrier or problem that affects your goal. You use storytelling to make a pitch more relatable, and you reinforce your goal, which is your reason for engaging in this work. And most importantly, practice before you go. Let's go to the next slide. So I am going to role play an elevator pitch with you. So bear with me. I'm not a great actor or anything, but bear with me as I try to role play this as a one-woman show. So we start with an introduction. I'm going to introduce myself to fictional Representative Herrera. Hello, Representative Herrera. My name is Naomi Nagahawatha. I'm your constituent, and I'm an early childhood assistant in Peoria, Illinois. Then I lift up my issue. In this case, it's the ECA scholarship for the purposes of this exercise, and I share facts about the ECA's program. So I would say something like, I was hoping to speak with you about the Early Childhood Access Consortium for Equity, or ECA scholarship program, which supports the early childhood workforce and expands the early childhood professional pipeline. It's currently underfunded and needs an additional $5 million in state funding for FY27 in order to continue to support early childhood education and care students. In fiscal year 2025, the demand for the ECA scholarship far exceeded available funding. The Illinois Student Assistance Commissioner, Isaac, received over 3,000 applications, but was only able to award between 650 and 750 scholarships. This was due to the program receiving only $5 million in state funding, leaving the majority of applicants without support. This has continued in fiscal year 2026. Demand remains high, but funding has not increased. That means hundreds to thousands of aspiring and current early childhood education students are being turned away. This expands the gap between the workforce need and state investment. So now I'm going to share my personal story to drive home why it's important to me. So I'll say something like, in 2024, I benefited from this program and was able to complete a year of early childhood classes towards my degree. Because of the 2025 decrease in ECA's funding, I no longer receive the scholarship and will not be able to finish my program and fulfill my dream to be a lead preschool teacher. So now I'm going to reiterate my ask to Representative Herrera. Representative Herrera, This is why I'm here with you today. ECACE needs a $5 million increase, bringing the program to $10 million total, which would allow me and others like me to finish my studies, our studies. Is this something you will support? So, that's an example of my elevator pitch. I will add that you should try to get a yes from your legislator or a response from your legislator. If you get a yes, you can always follow up and remind your elected official that they agreed to support a funding increase, especially when it's time for them to vote. I'm going to now pass it over to my colleague Brian, who's going to introduce a message from Illinois House Representative Joyce Mason.
Thank you, Nilma. And if I was that representative, how can I say no to that story and those facts? So thank you. To help guide us through best practices for Advocacy Day and how to make the most of those conversations, I'm really excited to introduce a video from our House Representative Joyce Mason, who will share insights from her perspective as a policymaker and what she looks for when engaging with advocates. Let's see if we can play the video.
Hello, early childhood advocates. I'm State Representative Joyce Mason, and I represent Illinois' 61st House District. I'm also the chairperson of the House Child Care Accessibility and Early Childhood Education Committee. Not only am I a lawmaker, educator, and business professional, but I'm also the mom of two wonderful humans who benefited from early childhood programs and services, including early intervention. And one of them, my daughter, is an early childhood educator. So whether you're a parent or a provider, I've had some good insight into your world and how hard you work for the kiddos that will become our future parents, teachers, and leaders. That's why, as a legislator, I'm working hard to support initiatives that help make the early childhood system better for all families. So, how can community members and advocates engage with their lawmakers during Advocacy Day? Well, it's our job as legislators to listen to our constituents, and it's very important that all advocates engage with us and speak to us. We don't know how you feel and what you're looking for if you don't tell us. So do keep in mind that legislators usually have really busy schedules. We're usually running from place to place, and our minds are often going in several directions at a time. But it's important when you speak to us that you are impactful, concise, and to the point about what your early childhood needs are. I would recommend for advocates to start thinking about the specifics, the main points you want to share. If you are a provider, what are the workforce or systemic issues you are experiencing? If you are a parent, what has been your experience finding early intervention, childcare, or home visiting services? One way to be impactful is by telling us your story. And of course, never forget to let us know what solutions you're advocating for, whether that's putting more money into early childhood programs, or if you are in support of a bill that would solve issues in the early childhood system. Legislators work on so many different topics, and they have varying experience and knowledge about early childhood. And you're the experts who have the lived experience. Your ideas and solutions are important. I also understand that it can be a bit intimidating and scary to talk to a legislator. I was a mom advocate for education before I ever even dreamed of running for office, and I was really nervous too. But it's really okay to approach, politely interrupt, and talk with us. And I welcome everyone to take that risk and engage. We want to hear from you, so don't be shy. Early Childhood Advocacy Day is a great opportunity to take that risk and talk face to face. But you can also engage with us when you go back home. You can send us a letter or an email. You can call our office. You can attend local events, and you can follow us and engage on social media. With all of that said, I really want to thank you all for your dedication to early childhood. And I'm so excited to see you all and welcome you to Springfield on March 4th. Have fun and make a difference. And always remember, your voice matters.
That was very powerful. And I love the end. Your voice matters. Um, Advocacy is strongest when it's rooted in real experiences from providers, families, and those directly impacted by these systems. I'm happy to introduce Osar Unani, an early childhood educator and member of the We the Village Coalition, who will share her experience with Early Childhood Advocacy Day and why this work matters so deeply.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon. My name is Azar Kunani, founder of Kids Academy Early Learning Center, founder of Yes to Childcare, and co-founder of International Servant Leaders Museum. For over 30 years, I have served children and families in Illinois, and I would like to share a few thoughts on this importance of CCAP and why advocacy matters. If a parent loses childcare, loses their ability to work, and everything that depends on it. I am here today not just as a provider, but as a witness. And I know many of you here are witnesses too. A witness to working parent doing everything they can to stay employed and support their families. A witness to children who need stability, safety, and care during the most critical years of their development. And a witness to a system that supports them, but it under strain. CCAP has been essential in stabilizing community-based childcare center like ours. It supports teachers, children, family, and the workforce that depends on reliable childcare. It is not just a program, it is a lifeline. A mother once came to our center and told me, if I lose childcare, I lose my job. Through CCAP, her child remained in a safe, nurturing environment. She kept her job, became stable, became hopeful, and her child thrived. That is the impact of CCAP. CCAP supports workforce stability and retention. Teachers are being well with dignity. Children's learning development, fair wages and competitive hiring. But we are facing real challenges. Reimbursement rates do not reflect the true cost of care. Payments are not always timely and reliable. Costs continue to rise. And in Illinois, childcare centers are still treated like a business when it comes to property taxes, instead of being recognized as a part of education system, adding additional financial pressure on providers. This is not sustainable. And this is exactly why being here today at ECAT matters so much. This is our opportunity to come together and speak directly to our legislators to share what our communities truly need. As part of broader advocacy community, including We the Village, we are here to ensure that our voices of children, families, and educators are heard. Because our voices and experiences should guide the decision being made. When we invest in CCAP, we are not just funding childcare. We are supporting working families. We are strengthening Illinois workforce, and we are investing in children's future. So today, we respectfully ask, please fully fund CCAP, ensure reimbursement reflects a real cost of care, provide timely, reliable payment, recognize childcare as essential education, including fair policies such as addressing property tax burden. We all see this every day in our classroom, in our homes, and in our communities. CCAP has given our centers stability, our teacher dignity, and our children consistency. But to truly sustain high-quality childcare in Illinois, continued investment is not an optional. It is essential. Childcare is not luxury. It is not optional. It is essential. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Osar. That was very powerful, and a great example of why this work matters and how much of a need there is to support our children, childcare, and all the different programs that we're advocating for. That was just a great example. I would like to pass it over to Angelica, who will go over what to expect. Angelica?
Thank you, Brian. All right, what to expect at ECAD. ECAD is an empowering event, but the day can feel it can be very fluid, and it can feel chaotic, it can feel overwhelming. There will be lots of people, and legislators often have abrupt changes and will either need to cancel, delay, or reschedule meetings that you may have scheduled with them. If you need help during the day, please come to our event staff, who will be wearing purple t-shirts. You can also ask for help from the information desk or even from the Capitol Building Police. The flow of the day is something like this. Arrive, have meetings with your legislators, attend the rally, have more meetings with more legislators, head home. We've tried to create a loose agenda that gives you as much time as possible for legislator visits. You can also stop by our event's home base at the library when it works best for your schedule, so that you can let us know you are in attendance. You can eat lunch and get a t-shirt. Buses head to Springfield around 6:30 a.m. Exact times will be shared with you by email from us or from your group leader. Buses arrive between 10:30 a.m. and 11 a.m., but there could be unforeseen delays. So that's something to be mindful of as you're trying to schedule meetings. If you're driving down on your own, this will be less of a concern for you. On the fourth floor of the library, our team will be available for advocacy consultation. We'll answer questions and help you practice your elevator pitch. On the first floor of the library, there's a room reserved for parents and guardians with young children. In case you need a quieter space to sit, please stay with your children at all times. Across the street from the library is the Capitol Building. The building has legislator offices and is also where our event rally will take place. The rally starts at 12 p.m. ASL and Spanish interpretation will be available at the rally and throughout the day. Accessible seating will be provided at the rally. Most of us will otherwise be standing. Our friends from Teach Plus and the Start with Play Coalition will also have a demonstration in the Capitol Building. They'll have activities to show the importance of play in early childhood development. After the rally, you'll have about an hour to meet with legislators. At 1:45 p.m., bus riders should return to the library and board the buses. At 2 p.m., buses will depart. The event will end and most of our staff will leave. But if you drove down, you can continue to meet with legislators and leave when you're ready. So that's the agenda. When you come to the event, we will have a lot of resources for you. Many of them will be collated into your attendee folder. The list of materials is included in these slides and can be found on the Start Early event website. I want to highlight just a few of these resources. There's a lawmaker face sheet. This will be provided at registration check-in, which is at the library, if when you registered for the event, you gave us your legislator info. It includes contact info and a photo so you can spot your legislator anywhere. Key committees. These are key early childhood related committees that you can attend so that you can watch the legislative process. You may also find your lawmaker at committee and try to get them to come out and talk to you. Business cards. Starting at 12 p.m., senators may be in session in the Senate chamber and representatives may be in session in the House chamber. You can use these blank business cards to call your senator out of chamber. Instructions are included in the What to Expect at the Capitol document. There will be 2 copies of the budget fact sheet, 1 copy for you and 1 to give to your legislator. These are the budget asks that Naomi talked about earlier in the presentation. And finally, the Babies Can't Wait sticker. This is related to the Raising Illinois Early Intervention Campaign. Wear this sticker and encourage others to do the same. It lets everyone know you are a champion for early intervention. Follow the QR code on the sticker to take further action for EI. Let's go to the next slide. So just a few before you go tips. Prepare for lots of standing and walking. Bring snacks, bring water. Take some time to get to know other advocates. It's really great to be there together. We'll be a very large group. If you aren't able to speak with your legislator, leave the budget fact sheet at their office and ensure their legislative assistant knows you stopped by. After the event, tell us how your meetings went. Did your legislator agree to increase funding? Who did you speak with? There'll be a survey included, so you can let us know. There are police throughout the Capitol building. They can be very helpful. There are also security check-ins at entrances. They will search bags and have you walk through a metal detector. This is routine and it's quick. We'll also be sending an email to help you prepare for event day. This will include reminders and need-to-know information. We'll also be in touch with advocates who've indicated an interest in joining already scheduled meetings. And for those who have a particular interest in early intervention, we are hosting an early intervention focused training on May 6th. And lastly, we'll be sharing graphics for you to use on social media. When you post, please use the hashtag AdvocateECE and ECAD26. Passing it back to Naomi.
Let's go to the next slide. Thanks so much, Angelica. Thanks, Brian. Thank you, everybody who's been active in the chat for your questions. I want to actually open up space now. We've shared a lot of information with you today. Do you have any questions? And we're happy to field them. In order to ask your question, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your toolbar, at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Once we call on you, please take yourself off of mute to ask your question, and then please remute yourself after you've asked your question. But now is a great time for you to ask. So if you do have any questions, please do. So I see some questions in the chat, and I may lift them up as well. Catherine, if you would like to, is transportation still available? I'm going to actually field this question over to Angelica.
Yeah, so the transportation from One North Dearborn, that has reached capacity and is no longer available. If you are traveling perhaps from Evanston or Arlington Heights, we can probably get you on a bus, or even Dalton or Rockford. There's also a separate form for folks coming from East St. Louis and Peoria. There are a few options. So you can just send me an email, acleveland@startearly.org, or you can email our events team, events@startearly.org. If you're looking for an option, and we'll try to get you connected with the group.
All right, I just dropped that into the chat. Do folks have any other questions?
I did. Oh, sorry, I raised my hand.
Oh, please go ahead. It's okay.
I see on the page it's saying if you can't go in person, you could join virtually. How will we be able to do that?
Who wants to start on the virtual options?
I'm happy to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Angelica, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to send some more information on that on May 12th on the Start Early side. We'll be sending a know before you go email that will include virtual options. In the virtual participation, I know that there's a plan to live stream the rally, so there'll be instructions to watch that live stream. or you can look out on the Illinois Action for Children, like social media pages, to find the rally at noon. And then there will also be like you can do like our online campaigns to send letters to your legislators. And there's also right now, what has been circulated is there's an opportunity to share letters, more customized letters.
To
I
your
don't know if we passed the
legislator.
deadline. Go ahead. You want to talk more about that, Neoma?
Yeah, so we have an action that's currently live, and I think one of my colleagues will drop a link to that action in the chat now, where you can do an electronic letter to your legislator. So it's a pre-filled form, and you would fill it out, and you can also tell your own story in the form. We're going to print these out, and we're going to hand them to your respective legislators in Springfield. So if you can't physically be there, fill out this form. Send your letter with us. We will hand your letter over to your elected. And so that is another option as well. And I believe one of my colleagues will drop this in the chat, or I will.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to say something really quick. I really appreciated the earlier comments that Olivia, the questions, I'm sorry, that were being asked, because what if our legislator already supports early childhood programs and others don't? How can we be using our time strategically? And I think that that's so important to research the voting record, past positions, public statements, because early childhood helps connect things that legislators already care about, like workforce development or violence prevention. And I think that was such a great comment. And those that have been participating, like that's why your voice matters and your input matters, because how can we make a bigger impact and actually pass laws that will benefit our families, policies that will benefit our children? So thank you all for participating in those chats and asking those questions, making those comments, and that feedback is so important. And I hope you're all able to take the time to fill out the survey. We would love to learn more about how we can make this more effective and more impactful, like the comments that were being made. So thank you again, everyone, and for sharing that.
Thanks so much, Brian. So if folks don't have any more questions, I think we will start to wrap up. In the chat, I dropped a link to the folks that you can contact if you have any other questions about ECAD. Also, our Advocacy 101 toolkit. So this is a takeaway that's already been created for you in both English and Spanish. And make sure you review it before May 13th. And a lot of the information we covered is here. And also a link to the survey. Tell us how we did. Tell us what could be better. And we're, always looking to improve. And so please take the survey when you can as well. And thank you. Thanks everybody for taking the time today, lunchtime today, to kind of be with us and listen to what we have to say and join us and be a part of this effort. And we look forward to hanging out with you on May 13th in Springfield, Illinois. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.